They left me sitting there, gate B27 at Hartsfield Jackson, like I was some piece of luggage they forgot to claim. Marcus handed me a wrinkled $50 bill, kissed my forehead like I was already half gone, and said, "We'll call you once things settle down, Dad." Then he walked off with Vanessa, laughing about dinner reservations at Ruth's Chris. I sat there watching their backs disappear into the crowd. $50. That's all my son thought I was worth after 72 years on this earth, 3 Purple Hearts, and a lifetime of keeping him fed, clothed, and educated. But what Marcus and his pretty little wife didn't know was that this broken old man had been watching them for months. I wasn't confused. I wasn't lost. I was waiting. See, when you've spent your youth crawling through jungles in Vietnam, hearing the hiss of bullets so close they slice the air beside your ear, you learn patience. You learn that stillness ain't the same as weakness. They thought I was fading, but really I was taking notes, every lie, every transaction, every cruel word, like entries in a soldier's field journal. The airport announcements echoed above me. Flight 302 to Birmingham now boarding. Funny thing they'd bought me that ticket. Said they were sending me to rest with family, but I knew it was exile. A quiet way to get me out of the house I built with my own 2 hands. The house Evelyn and I paid off in 1988, 32 years of mortgage, sacrifice, and love, all signed over to Marcus temporarily while I was grieving. I stared down at my reflection in the terminal window. My face had more lines than an old battle map. My hands trembled, but not from age, no, from restraint. A soldier's discipline never dies. It just gets quieter. I could feel Evelyn beside me, somehow whispering the same thing she always did whenever life got hard. Don't give them your anger, Zay. Give them your silence. Let that be your weapon. So I sat there in silence, watching planes come and go. Watching people rush by, families hugging kids holding their parents' hands. I thought about Marcus, about the boy I used to teach how to tie his boots and mow the lawn straight. About the way he'd beam when I showed up to his high school games in uniform. Back then, I thought I was raising a man. Turns out I was raising ambition without gratitude. Vanessa changed him, sure. But truth be told, the greed was already there, just needed someone to give it a reason. Together, they found one me. They'd been setting this up for a long time, whispering about my episodes to the neighbors, recording my tremors on their iPhones, calling it evidence. They said the PTSD made me dangerous, said I forgot things, that I wasn't safe to handle my own affairs. And while they laughed, I smiled. Because every moment they thought they were building a case, I was building one too stronger, cleaner, and a whole lot more truthful. I folded that $50 bill and slipped it into my wallet right next to my veteran ID. That piece of plastic might not mean much to them, but it meant everything to me. It was proof that once I fought for this country and for people I believed in, and if I could survive war, I sure as hell could survive my own blood. I stood up, straightened my old army jacket, and looked out at the runway. Planes rose into the sky like silver arrows heading home. I wasn't going to board mine. No. I had other plans, ones that started right here with me walking back into Atlanta soil, not away from it. They thought they'd sent me off to disappear. But when you've been through hell and back, you learn something important. Hell's not a place you run from. It's a place you return to when you've got unfinished business. They left me at that airport thinking I'd fade into the background. What they didn't know was that they'd just given me the perfect alibi, the perfect moment to vanish quietly and start the kind of war only an old soldier knows how to win. They thought they'd left me behind for good, but the thing about soldiers, we always find our way home. Grief has a strange sound to it. It ain't always crying. Sometimes it's just the hum of a refrigerator in a house that used to be full of voices. That's what it sounded like after Evelyn passed. Quiet. Too quiet. I lost her in the spring of 2021. Breast cancer stage 4. The woman who used to sing to every gospel record in our kitchen could barely whisper her own name near the end. I held her hand every night, whispering old army prayers I hadn't said in decades. When she finally slipped away, the world got smaller. The walls felt closer, the air heavier. Evelyn was my balance, my reminder that there was still life after the war. When she died, that balance went with her. The days blurred. The nights dragged. I forgot to eat sometimes, forgot to take my meds. So when Marcus said, "Dad, why don't you come stay with us for a while, just until you get back on your feet," it sounded like kindness, like mercy. And maybe for a little while it was. They picked me up in their brand new Range Rover Vanessa, smiling like she'd just won an award. Their house in Stonecrest was all glass and chrome, like nobody actually lived there. I remember her saying, "You'll be comfortable here, Mr. Coleman. We'll handle everything. Bills, groceries, even your doctor visits. You just focus on healing." Healing. That word stuck to me like a lie dressed in silk. Marcus said I could leave my old house in my name, of course, but let me take care of the paperwork, property taxes, utilities, insurance. I was numb then, the kind of numbness that makes you sign things without really seeing the ink. I trusted my son. I trusted the boy I raised. I trusted because that's what Evelyn would have done. The first few weeks were calm. They'd invite me to dinner. Vanessa made her little health-conscious meals, everything low salt, no flavor. We'd eat together, watch TV. She'd smile politely when I told old war stories. Marcus even laughed sometimes. I thought maybe this was what Evelyn wanted, a family staying close even in her absence. But kindness can sour fast when it ain't genuine. Little by little they started moving things around. My military box, the one with my medals, Evelyn's photos, our marriage license disappeared from the hallway shelf. My clothes were moved from the guest room to a basement space for privacy. My mail started going to their address for convenience. And then Marcus started talking to me like I was a client, not a father. "Dad, you don't need to worry about these forms. Dad, let me handle that for you. Dad, you're too stressed to think about money right now." Money. That word always sat funny in his mouth. I should have known right then. Should have seen that look Vanessa gave him whenever finances came up, that small smirk like they shared a secret. But I was tired. I missed Evelyn. I wanted to believe family still meant something. One evening, maybe 2 months in, Marcus came into my room holding a folder. "Dad, I've got some papers for you to sign. Just basic stuff, tax adjustments, insurance renewals." His tone was smooth like a man used to selling trust. I didn't even look at the papers long, just signed. My hands shook, not from fear but from the medication sertraline and prazosin, same ones I'd been taking since 1978. He joked, "Careful, old man, you'll sign your life away one day." He laughed. I didn't. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing Evelyn's voice, not the gentle one from our porch talks, but the firm one she used when I forgot something important. "Zay, always read what you sign." Always. I got up, checked my drawer. The folder was gone. I told myself it was nothing, that Marcus was just helping. But deep down I felt it, the kind of chill that doesn't come from air conditioning, but from realizing you might be living under someone else's roof, and mercy at the same time. The next morning I asked Marcus about the papers. He brushed it off. "Just routine, Dad." "You trust me, don't you?" That word trust started to sound less like comfort and more like a trap. Weeks passed. I'd sit in the backyard sometimes watching the sunlight hit the fence Evelyn would have wanted me to fix. I'd talk to her picture on my phone pretending she was there. "I'm doing fine, baby," I'd whisper. "Marcus is taking care of me." But somewhere deep inside, a voice I hadn't heard since the war started to whisper back, "You're in enemy territory, soldier. Stay sharp." That's how it always starts, not with cruelty but with kindness that overstays its welcome. It started with small things. That's how betrayal always sneaks in, soft, almost polite. At first it was Marcus rolling his eyes every time I took my medication. "Dad's on his happy pills again," he'd say loud enough for Vanessa to hear. She'd laugh, that little tight laugh she used when she wanted to seem innocent. "It's just for his nerves," she'd add, like I wasn't sitting 2 feet away. Every night I lined up my pills the same way I had since the VA prescribed them decades ago. Sertraline for the panic, prazosin for the nightmares. They worked fine when life was quiet. But quiet don't last long in a house where you're not welcome. Marcus started calling me Pops in that joking tone that ain't got love in it. Pops, don't forget to take your meds. Pops, you already asked that. Pops, calm down, it's just a car alarm. Every time I jumped at a noise, I could feel their eyes on me. Not concern, amusement, like I was some broken toy winding down. Tuesday mornings were the worst. The garbage truck rattled past the house brakes, squealing, cans clattering. That sound, metal and diesel, sent me straight back 50 years to Da Nang. I'd duck low, hands shaking before I could stop myself. Once I caught Marcus watching me from the doorway. He didn't say a word, just shook his head like he was embarrassed for me. Later, I heard him tell Vanessa Dad's slipping. He's having more of those episodes. That's what they called my memories now. Then came the cameras. Vanessa said it was for safety. I'd notice her iPhone out during dinner, angled toward me while she pretended to scroll. When I asked, she said, just in case something happens, we need proof for the doctor. Proof of what? That I flinched when someone slammed a door. That I still saw ghosts when I closed my eyes. One afternoon, I heard laughter from the living room. I stepped closer and froze. They were watching one of those recordings. It was me cowering when the fireworks went off on the 4th of July. Marcus said, he looks like he's ducking grenades. Vanessa laughed until she cried. That's when I stopped saying I'm sorry. Because I'd been saying it every day, for asking them to turn down the TV, for taking too long at the table, for leaving a light on. Sorry, son. Sorry, sweetheart. Sorry, I didn't mean to. But sorry, don't work on people who enjoy your shame. Dinner changed too. At first we ate together, then suddenly I'd come out of my room to find the dishes already cleared. Vanessa would smile. We saved you some leftovers, Mr. Coleman. Always. Mr. Coleman, never Dad. The leftovers were cold, sitting on paper plates, while their fine china dried in the rack. I'd eat alone in the kitchen, staring at the chair Evelyn used to sit in, trying not to cry where they could see. One night I overheard them talking in the next room. Once we get the deed switched, we can refinance, Vanessa whispered. Maybe finally get that pool. My name sat on that house deed since 1988. Evelyn and I paid it off with my army pension and her church cleaning job. We used to joke that our sweat built those bricks. And now my son and his wife were talking about it like it was some item on a shopping list. I said nothing, not yet. Because silence, when used right, is reconnaissance. At church, Marcus started playing the part of the dutiful son. He'd guide me by the arm like I couldn't walk straight, patting my shoulder whenever someone asked how I was doing. Dad's memory's not what it used to be, he'd say, voice dipped in pity. People started looking at me different. Not like Isaiah the veteran, but like Isaiah the problem. At the grocery store, he pulled the same stunt. Dad, remember, we bought milk yesterday. I hadn't. He knew that, but he said it loud enough for everyone in line to hear. I could feel their eyes on me, soft with sympathy, sharp with judgment. Vanessa joined in too. She told neighbors I'd been struggling and that she and Marcus were doing everything they could to keep me safe. They made themselves sound like saints, and me like a burden they bore out of love. And I almost believed it, until I checked my bank statement. Marcus had taken over my finances to simplify things, but I still had online access even if he didn't know. That night I sat in the dark with my laptop and saw the numbers. I won $400 to Nordstrom, $720 to BMW leasing, $85 to DoorDash, over and over again. I scrolled through 3 months of charges. Thousands gone. My VA disability checks, my savings. Gone. I printed every page and hid them in a Bible Evelyn left by the bed, the one Marcus would never touch. After that, I started keeping records, photos of mail copies of every receipt, recordings of every cruel laugh. They thought my shaking hands meant weakness. They didn't know it was just the tremor before the trigger.
The worst part wasn't losing money or pride. It was realizing the people you loved most saw you as less than human, that every kindness was just a prelude to ownership. Late one night, I sat in my room staring at my reflection in the window. I didn't see an old man. I saw a soldier on a mission. Evelyn's voice echoed again. "You can't fix what's rotten, Zay, but you can expose it." That's when I made a promise not just to her memory, but to myself. I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't beg. I'd wait, watch, record, because patience isn't surrender. It's strategy. And I knew one thing for sure: this war was just getting started. You don't survive 2 tours in Vietnam without learning the art of waiting. Waiting turns into strategy. Strategy turns into survival, and that's what I was doing now, surviving under my own roof. Every night after Marcus and Vanessa went to bed, I'd sit in that cold basement room they called Dad's space, open my little notebook, and write. I wrote everything: dates, times, words, what they said, what they spent, what they broke. If a man's going to be treated like a criminal, he might as well keep the receipts. The first thing I documented was the money. Marcus said he was handling my bills, but that man couldn't handle discipline if it came with a paycheck. BMW leases, Nordstrom handbags, dinners at steakhouses I'd never been invited to, all from the account tied to my VA deposits. I printed every statement, kept the pages flat in a folder Evelyn once used for her church programs. The second thing I did was record. I bought a small digital recorder off Amazon Voice, activated quiet as a whisper. Every time Marcus raised his voice, every time Vanessa said I was declining, that little red light blinked to life. I had hours of their cruelty saved on that thing, but see, the real ace up my sleeve wasn't paper or sound. It was the part of me they never knew existed, my second life. Back in 1993, after I left the Army, Lockheed Aeronautics hired me as a field maintenance consultant. Spent 25 years making sure their planes didn't fall out of the sky. Steady pay, good benefits, and a 401k plan with company matching. I started early, invested quiet, and never once touched it. Over time, with interest bonuses and a few smart moves, it grew to $1.4 million. I never told Evelyn. Not because I didn't trust her, but because she trusted Marcus too much. She used to say, "He's got your mind, Zay, but my heart." I wish she'd been right, so I kept that pension account separate under my own name at a local credit union downtown. It was my last stronghold, my quiet fort. And nobody, not Marcus, not Vanessa, knew it existed. That's what made me smile at night. They thought they were bleeding me dry. They didn't realize I had more in reserve than they'd ever see in their lifetime. Then there were my medical records. I knew what Marcus was building: a case for incompetency. He'd been planting that seed with everyone in church, in the neighborhood, even at the VA office when he tagged along for my checkups. But the thing about the VA is they don't play politics with paperwork. My psychiatrist, Dr. Lorraine Briggs, had treated me for 15 years. She's a tough woman, sharp as a scalpel, never misses a detail. Every quarter she wrote the same thing in her report. Patient presents mild anxiety disorder, well managed. No evidence of cognitive decline. When I asked her if someone could misuse her reports, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Mr. Coleman, these files are protected tighter than Fort Knox. But if somebody's spreading lies about your mind, you make sure to get yourself a copy. People can't argue with facts." So I did. I requested my full record, every page, every signature, every evaluation, and kept them in a fireproof lockbox under my mattress. The same box Evelyn once called my war chest. She wasn't wrong. The last piece I needed was someone who knew both the law and the code of men who've seen hell. That's when I called Colonel Reggie Walker. Reggie and I met back in '69, same platoon. He made a career out of it, 30 years. 2 tours, and after retirement, he went and got himself a law degree.
Now he runs a small firm out of East Point and volunteers at the VFW. When he picked up the phone, I didn't even have to explain. "Zay," he said, "you sound like a man walking into battle. Feels that way. You need me to bring the big guns or the quiet ones? The quiet ones. For now." We met at a diner 2 days later, far enough from Stonecrest that nobody would see. I brought my binder, my notes, the copies of my bank statements. Reggie listened in silence, eyes narrowing with every page. "This ain't incompetency," he said. "This is financial and emotional abuse." I nodded. "They think they've got me cornered." He smiled, that half grin soldiers get when they smell a fight coming. "They forgot who trained you. Let them move first. The bigger their ego, the louder the evidence will sound when it lands." We drew up a plan, legal, strategic, patient. I'd keep recording. He'd quietly notarize my documents, authenticate my copies, and keep one sealed set in his office. "You don't swing first, Zay," he said. "You make sure when you do, they never get up again." That night, back in the basement, I stared at that little red light on my recorder and thought about all the years I'd spent being silent, about all the times I swallowed pride to keep peace. Evelyn used to tell me, "Not every battle deserves your rage." But this one did. I looked at her photo on my nightstand, her eyes kind, steady, sure. "Don't worry, baby," I whispered. "I'm not fighting for revenge. I'm fighting to remember who I am." I closed the lockbox, slid it back under my bed, and exhaled. The enemy was in my house, yes, but the battlefield was mine now. I didn't need bullets anymore. I had the truth, and that's a weapon people never see coming. It was a Tuesday morning in February when the war came to my kitchen. The sunlight barely touched the counter when Marcus walked in, voice low and smooth like a man about to sell a lie. Vanessa trailed behind him, her iPhone already in hand, the red light on. "Always recording, always ready." "Dad," Marcus said, pulling out a chair across from me, "we need to talk." I was sorting my pills into the little blue organizer Evelyn had bought me years ago. She'd labeled each section with her neat handwriting, "Mon Tu Wed." I ran my thumb over her faded pen marks before I looked up. "About what? About your situation." "My situation." I repeated, pretending I didn't already know what was coming. Vanessa folded her arms, standing like she was guarding a prisoner. "We've noticed some changes, Mr. Coleman. You've been confused lately, forgetting things, repeating yourself." I laughed, quiet and bitter, repeating myself. "Maybe because y'all never listen." Marcus's smile tightened. "Dad, this isn't an attack. We're just worried about you." "Worried?" I said the word, tasting like rust. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Yesterday you asked me 3 times what time dinner was." "I asked once," I said, "at 4. Because dinner's usually at 5, and it was 6:30 before you even set the table." Marcus sighed, the way people do when they're rehearsing disappointment. "That's exactly what I mean. You don't remember. And we can't ignore it anymore." Vanessa tilted her head, her voice soft and sharp at once. "We think it's time to get you some structure. Professional care. Maybe a facility that understands veterans." I stared at them. "A nursing home." "It's not like that, Dad," Marcus said quickly. "It's just safe. You'd get the help you need. I see Dr. Briggs every month. My records are clean." Marcus waved that off. "She doesn't live here, Dad. She doesn't see the daily decline." Decline. That word hit me harder than any bullet ever had. He slid a stack of papers across the table, neat and precise. "These will make things easier. Just some legal documents, power of attorney, guardianship, the basics." Vanessa added, "You'll still have your say in things, of course." "This is just a formality. A formality." I picked up the pen and turned it slowly in my hand. My fingers trembled, not from fear but calculation. Every soldier knows that before the first shot is fired, there's reconnaissance. I had my recorder tucked in my shirt pocket, voice activated, catching every syllable. I looked at Marcus. His tie was crooked, his jaw tight. A man trying to look noble while stealing from his father. "You're doing this out of love, huh?" I asked. He nodded. "Of course, Dad. We just want what's best for you." Vanessa smiled that polished smile. "We're family. You can trust us." Trust. There it was again. The same word they'd used when they took over my mail, my accounts as my home. The word that used to mean love now meant danger. I placed the pen down carefully. "I'll think about it." Marcus frowned. "Think about it." "There's not much to think about. We've already scheduled a meeting with a family attorney Thursday at 2. He'll walk you through everything." I said, "I'll think about it." I repeated, my voice firm now, steel wrapped in calm. Vanessa's tone changed sharp at the edges. "Mr. Coleman, please don't make this harder than it needs to be." Marcus stood smoothing his tie like a man ending a business deal. "We're trying to help you, Dad. Don't fight us on this." I looked up at him, my own son, the boy I used to carry on my shoulders, now looking down at me like a problem to solve. "Help me," I said softly. "You sure that's what this is?" He hesitated for half a second before walking out. Vanessa followed, still recording. When the door shut, I let the silence settle. It was heavy, the kind of silence you feel pressing against your chest. I reached into my shirt pocket, pulled out the recorder, and hit stop. A small red light blinked out. 43 minutes of conversation. Every word, every manipulation captured. I sat there a long while, staring at Evelyn's handwriting on that pill organizer. "Mon tu wed." I traced the letters with my thumb and whispered, "Guess what, baby? They just declared war." Later that night I called Reggie. He answered on the second ring. "Talk to me, Zay. They made their move." He exhaled slow. "Good. Let 'em. You got it all recorded, every word. Then we stick to the plan. Thursday morning, bring me everything. We'll be ready when they spring the trap." I hung up feeling that old familiar calm, the kind that comes right before a mission. I opened my lockbox, checked the documents, pension statements, medical records, notarized copies, all lined up like ammunition. Then I tucked the recorder beside them and locked the box again. For the first time in months, I slept easy. Because I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a soldier on offense. They thought I'd signed my surrender. What they didn't know was I'd just signed them into their own destruction. By Saturday, the air over Stonecrest had that early spring heaviness. Warm, sun-cool breeze, folks talking about yard work and Sunday service. I was sitting on the porch when Marcus came out grinning like a salesman about to close a deal. "Dad," he said, "the Wilsons are having their annual neighborhood barbecue. You should come. Be good for you to get out. You know, socialize a little." I could read the script behind his smile. Every move he made lately was staged for an audience.
"Sure," I said. "Wouldn't miss it." Vanessa chimed in from the doorway, already in her sundress, phone in hand. "It'll show folks you're doing better, Mr. Coleman." She said it like she was talking about a recovering patient, not the man who paid for the roof over her head. By 4 o'clock, we were in their shiny BMW, my money, their pride, and rolling down Oak Hill Drive. The Wilsons' backyard was buzzing with chatter. Kids chasing bubbles, smoke rising from the grill, the smell of charcoal and ribs in the air. I found a quiet spot near the fence, away from the noise. Crowds still made my hands twitch sometimes. I controlled my breathing, 3 counts in, 4 out. Focus on now, not then. Then I heard a familiar voice. "Mr. Coleman." "You made it." It was Sergeant Andre Matthews, a younger man from down the street, still active duty, stationed at Fort Benning. He'd moved in last summer. Strong build, firm handshake, honest eyes, the kind you don't forget. "Afternoon, Andre," I said.
"Good to see you." Before I could say more, Marcus appeared beside me, clapping a hand on my shoulder. "Hey, Andre, Dad doesn't get out much these days. Big step for him, huh?" I felt my jaw tighten. Andre nodded slowly. Yeah, you doing okay, sir? I'm managing, I said, keeping my voice steady. Vanessa joined in, holding her phone just low enough to look casual. Yesterday, he couldn't remember where he put his medication. Scared me half to death. That was a lie. My pills hadn't moved an inch, but I didn't interrupt. Let them talk. Let them dig. Marcus sighed dramatically. PTSD's been getting worse. Sometimes he doesn't even recognize people. I turned my head slowly and met his eyes. I recognize you, son. He smiled awkwardly, glancing at the others watching us. See what I mean? Gets confused sometimes. The small group around us started to murmur. Neighbors who'd once called me sir now stared at me like a fragile relic. Last week, Marcus went on, he threw a plate right through the kitchen window. I hadn't thrown anything in years. The only broken glass in that house was from his golf ball hitting the back door. Vanessa sighed, pressing her hand to her heart. We're just doing our best to keep him safe. It's been hard. My stomach turned. Hard for them. The people eating steak off my money and calling me crazy for dessert. Sounds rough, someone said. You two are saints for taking care of him. Family takes care of family. Marcus replied, squeezing Vanessa's hand for show. That's when Andre's expression changed. His soldier's eyes flicked between us, me quiet Marcus performing. Mr. Coleman, he asked gently, you good, need anything? I nodded once. I'm fine, Sergeant. Marcus cut in fast. He doesn't like to bother people. We've got it handled. Andre didn't blink. That's so. Well, I live 2 doors down. Marines, soldiers. It's all the same brotherhood to me. You ever need help, you come knock, you hear. That right there. It was the first time in weeks someone had spoken to me, not about me. Appreciate that, I said quietly. Vanessa laughed too quickly. Oh, he won't need to. We keep him close. Right, honey. I smiled, then slow, deliberate. Closer than you think. That night back home, I replayed the day's recording on my laptop. Every lie, every word. Marcus saying I threw things. Vanessa claiming I forgot faces. Their tone dripping with pity. It was all there. 38 minutes of ammunition. When it ended, I sat in the dark, listening to the silence. Then I called Reggie. How'd it go? He asked. Better than expected. Got half the neighborhood as witnesses. He chuckled. You ready for Thursday? Born ready. He paused. You sure you want this to go public? Zay, once this hits, there's no walking it back. I looked over at Evelyn's picture on the dresser. They took my peace, my name, my dignity. I'm not walking anything back. Reggie's voice softened. All right then, Thursday at 9, my office. Bring the evidence. We'll give them one hell of a show. I ended the call and stared at the ceiling, the faint hum of the house around me. Marcus thought humiliation would break me. He didn't understand Marines don't break. We adapt. And the next time the neighborhood saw me, it wouldn't be as the old man losing his mind. It'd be as the man who remembered everything. Thursday morning broke gray and cold, the kind of morning where the air feels thick with meaning. I was up at 500, same as I'd done since 1972. Habit keeps you sharp when hope tries to drift. I shaved, pressed my shirt, polished my shoes, till I could see Evelyn's photo in the shine. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see an old man anymore. I saw a soldier preparing for his final campaign. At 800 sharp, I walked the 6 blocks to Reggie's office on Auburn Avenue. The place smelled like black coffee and leather, quiet but strong. Reggie was already waiting, wearing his old uniform jacket under a wool coat, medals gleaming even in the morning light. Zay, he said, standing to shake my hand. You look ready. I am. Let's see the arsenal. I laid the lockbox on his desk, documents stacked in order, recordings labeled by date. He opened the folders with care, reading like a man inspecting battle plans. VA medical evaluations, he murmured. All clear, no cognitive decline. Excellent. Pension account holy hell, $1.4 million. You weren't kidding about being prepared. Didn't survive the jungle just to die broke in the suburbs, I said. He laughed. You got that right. Now let's look at what they handed you. I slid over the forged guardianship papers Marcus had wanted me to sign. Reggie frowned, flipping through the pages. These are a mess. Wrong notary format, missing legal witnesses, no proper certification. This isn't even amateur work, it's arrogant. Sounds about right, I said. He closed the folder and leaned back. All right. We got two options. You want to handle this quiet lawyers, police reports, slow grind, or public one move, one blow, permanent social death. Quiet justice sounds righteous, I said, but it's too kind for what they did. He nodded slowly, a grin forming. Then we take the stage. He opened a separate file marked Memorial Parade Committee. You know how every year this town picks a veteran for the Memorial Day Parade, someone who represents honor, courage, service. You, my friend, are that man. I chair the committee. We've been looking for a hero with more than just medals. You got a story that'll humble a room. I blinked, suspicious. You want me in a parade, not just in it. Leading it. Grand Marshal. Reggie, you know crowds still get to me. He gave me that same look our platoon sergeant used to give before we hit the field. Zay, you've been hiding too long. They've been painting you like a ghost. Time to remind this town who you are before they rewrite your life. I thought about it. About Evelyn watching from heaven. About the neighbors whispering behind curtains. About Marcus smirking while telling lies over barbecue ribs. What'll it prove? I asked. That you're not broken, Reggie said simply. That you're the man they tried to bury alive and failed. I exhaled. You sure the town'll back it? He smiled. Zay, I'm the chairman. It's already done. You'll be officially announced Tuesday. I sat in silence for a while, the sound of the city humming outside the window. Then I nodded. All right, Colonel. Let's make it official. By Sunday it was. The committee met early, 5 veterans spanning from Korea to Iraq. Reggie read my record aloud, 2 tours. Vietnam, 3 Purple Hearts, a Bronze Star, 30 years of service to Lockheed Aeronautics. When he finished, the room was quiet. Then one of the younger vets said, Damn, that man's a legend. No objections. Motion passed. Ezekiel Zay Coleman, Grand Marshal, Memorial Day, 2025. That Tuesday, the local paper ran the headline, Decorated Vietnam Veteran Chosen to Lead Memorial Parade. There was a photo from 30 years back, me in my blues medals, shining Evelyn's smile at my side. Beneath it, the caption read, Coleman represents the best of American service and community. At dinner that evening, Marcus came storming into the kitchen, paper trembling in his hands. Dad, what is this? I didn't look up from my meal. What's it look like? You're the Grand Marshal. Apparently so. He glanced at Vanessa, who hovered in the doorway. Why didn't you tell us? Didn't think you'd be interested, I said, considering how you've been telling folks my mind's gone. Marcus swallowed hard. Dad, that's not fair. Neither is lying about your father's sanity, I said quietly. But life's funny that way. He tried to recover, smoothing his tone. This is great, Dad. The whole town'll be watching. We'll help you get ready, new suit, maybe rent a car. You'll need to practice your speech too. I nodded. Sure, son. Let's make it a day to remember. As he walked out, still smiling, I caught Vanessa's eyes. For the first time, she looked nervous. That night I called Reggie. They took the bait. He chuckled. Then we moved to phase 2. Memorial Day's your battlefield. You don't raise your voice. You don't accuse. You reveal. I leaned back in my chair, the old wood creaking beneath me. Think the town's ready, Reggie said. They'll never forget it. I hung up heart steady. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a shadow of myself. The boy thought he was playing checkers, but I'd been playing chess since the day he was born, and he just stepped right into checkmate. Memorial Day morning came dressed in gold sunlight and nerves. The streets of Stonecrest were already lined with folding chairs and waving flags by the time I buttoned the last brass on my dress blues. I hadn't worn that uniform in 15 years, not since Evelyn pinned my last commendation ribbon and said, "You've already earned peace, Zay. Don't keep fighting ghosts." Guess she didn't know I'd have to fight the living ones, too. Marcus was buzzing around the living room like a campaign manager. "Dad, you look incredible, real hero stuff." He straightened my collar, adjusted my medals. "Smile more, okay? This is your day." I looked at him calm as a still lake. "Yeah, son. My day." Vanessa hovered in the background, all done up for the cameras. I caught her checking her reflection in the microwave door more than once. She'd gone from recording my humiliation to preparing to record my redemption, only she didn't know it yet. They insisted on driving me to City Hall in the BMW. My BMW, technically. He'd put it in his name but used my account to make every payment. Fitting ride for the scene ahead. As we pulled up, the sound of drums from the local high school band echoed down Main Street. The smell of popcorn and hot dogs filled the air. Children waved flags. Old veterans saluted as I stepped out of the car. I felt the weight of the medals on my chest, not just for the men we'd lost, but for the battles I was about to finish. "Mr. Coleman," someone called. It was Sergeant Andre Matthews, the same young man from the barbecue, now in full dress uniform. "Good to see you again, sir." "You leading this parade?" "Yes, Sergeant. Seems I still got one more march left in me." He grinned. "We'll be right behind you. Whole town's proud of you." I nodded, glancing at Marcus and Vanessa standing near the reviewing stand, smiling for the cameras like the picture of family devotion. The irony was almost poetic. Then Colonel Reggie Walker appeared, every bit the commanding officer he used to be, clipboard in hand and purpose in his step. "Morning, Zay," he said, voice low. "You ready?" "As I'll ever be." "Good. When I hand you the mic, take your time. You earned that silence. And remember, truth always sounds louder when it's been quiet too long." I gave a small nod. "Understood, Colonel." At exactly 1100 hours, the parade began. I rode in the lead convertible, a vintage red Mustang top-down flag fluttering behind. The cheers hit like waves. People clapped, shouted my name. For the first time in years, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't the old confused vet. I was Ezekiel Coleman, soldier survivor, and the man they tried to erase. When we reached the reviewing stand, the car slowed to a stop. Reggie stepped up to the microphone, voice strong and clear. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "this year's Grand Marshal represents courage, service, and integrity. 2 tours in Vietnam. 3 Purple Hearts. Bronze Star for Valor. 30 years of service to his country and community. Please welcome Marine veteran Mr. Ezekiel Coleman." Applause thundered across the square. I rose slowly, feeling my knees ache, but my spirit steady. Reggie handed me the mic. "Thank you," I said, my voice carrying across the speakers, strong and deliberate. "This is an honor, not because it celebrates me, but because it reminds us what we fight for: freedom, truth, and family." The crowd hushed, leaning in. "For 3 years, some of you have heard things about me, that I was confused, that I'd lost my mind, that I couldn't tell right from wrong anymore." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Marcus shift uneasily. Vanessa lowered her phone. "They said I was violent, paranoid, incompetent, that I needed to be managed." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I paused, letting the silence breathe. "But today, I'd like to tell you what really happened." I reached inside my jacket and pulled out a yellow folder. Reggie took a step closer, his expression unreadable but his stance solid behind me.
For 3 years, my son Marcus and his wife Vanessa have been stealing from me. My savings, my pension, my dignity. Gasps scattered across the audience. They told you I was losing my mind, but what I was losing was my patience, because I have every piece of proof right here. I opened the folder and held up a printed statement. This is my pension account, $1.4 million from Lockheed Aeronautics earned over 25 years. They never knew it existed because they thought they'd already taken everything. Marcus stood up, face red. Dad, stop. You don't know what you're saying. I raised a hand. Sit down, son. I've been quiet long enough. The crowd stirred, cameras lifted. And here I pulled out another document. My medical evaluations from Dr. Lorraine Briggs.
Every page says the same thing: fully competent, no cognitive decline. But that didn't fit their story, did it? I turned toward Marcus. Voice, calm but heavy. You wanted control, guardianship, power of attorney. You forged documents to get it. You filmed me when I flinched at loud noises so you could call it evidence. You stole, lied, and humiliated your own father in the house he bought with combat pay. Vanessa grabbed Marcus's arm, whispering, "Do something, too late." And this, I lifted the small recorder from my pocket, pressing play. Through the speakers came Marcus's voice. "He's slipping. We'll have him declared incompetent before summer, then Vanessa's. Once we get conservatorship, the house and benefits are ours." Gasps turned to shouts. Someone yelled, "Shame!" Reggie stepped up beside me, his tone all business now. "I am Colonel Reginald Walker, retired U.S. Army and licensed attorney. I've reviewed Mr. Coleman's documents. What you've heard today constitutes elder abuse, financial fraud, and forgery. Effective immediately, Marcus and Vanessa Coleman are under a restraining order prohibiting access to Mr. Coleman's property or finances." He handed me a folder, stamped and sealed. I turned and held it out to Marcus. "You're served." The crowd erupted. Phones were filming neighbors whispering. Vanessa's face had gone pale. Marcus just stood there, trembling, the paper shaking in his hand. "Dad, we can fix this," he said, voice cracking. "Family." I cut him off. "Family doesn't destroy each other, son. They build each other up." "You forgot that." From the crowd, Andre Matthews stepped forward, voice booming like a drill sergeant. "Mr. Coleman, you need a ride home." I smiled faintly. "I'd appreciate that, Sergeant." As I stepped down from the stage, applause rose slow at first, then swelling until it filled the square. Veterans saluted. Strangers clapped. And as Andre led me toward his truck, I heard one voice whisper near the front row, "That's what a real man looks like." I didn't look back, didn't need to. The truth was walking behind me, loud enough for the whole town to hear. By the next morning, Stonecrest wasn't talking about barbecue recipes or the parade anymore. They were talking about me. The story hit the local paper before noon: Veteran exposes family fraud. During Memorial Parade, underneath it a photo me in uniform, microphone in hand, Marcus frozen beside me like a man caught mid-lie. By sunrise, the calls began. First, the sheriff's office confirming the restraining order was active. Then the bank manager at Atlantic Credit Union, Ms. Palmer, soft-spoken but efficient. "Mr. Coleman," she said, "we've reviewed your account records. There are unauthorized transactions totaling $62,000 over the past 3 years. We'll be reversing all fraudulent charges and freezing the access cards in question." I thanked her, voice steady. My hand only trembled when I hung up. By noon, word spread faster than wildfire. The same neighbors who once looked at me with pity were now crossing the street to shake my hand. Mrs. Jenkins from down the block brought over a peach cobbler and said through tears, "We had no idea what they were doing to you, Mr. Coleman." No idea. Most folks don't see a war till the smoke's already in their lungs, I said softly. Marcus and Vanessa. They didn't show their faces again. But Stonecrest is a small town. You can't hide shame for long when people saw it live streamed. 2 days later, Reggie called from his office. "Zay, you sitting down. Should I be the district attorney's filing charges? Elder abuse, fraud, conspiracy, and forgery. Their attorney's already negotiating plea deals. Looks like probation, restitution, and community service at the VA hospital." I let out a long, slow breath. "That's justice enough." He paused. "You sure you don't want to push for jail time?" I looked out the window at Evelyn's rose garden blooming wild again after years of neglect. "No, I don't need to see my son behind bars. I just need to see him learn." That evening I brewed a pot of coffee and sat on the porch, the air thick with that post-storm stillness. I wasn't angry, not anymore. Anger's a fire that burns the wrong house if you hold it too long, but I wasn't about to forget either. The next day I got another call, this time from Sergeant Andre Matthews. "Sir, you mind if I stop by?" When he arrived, his little girl was with him holding a crayon drawing that said, "Thank you, Mr. Zay." It showed me in my uniform standing tall with the words, "Real Hero" written across the top. I damn near cried. Andre cleared his throat. "Sir, you inspired a few of us over at the VFW. We've been talking about setting up a fund in your name, something for veterans dealing with elder abuse or family exploitation. You know, the kind of help that ain't in the pamphlets." I smiled. "Call it what you want, Sergeant, but if it saves one old man from going through what I did, I'm in." By the following week, the Coleman Veteran Integrity Fund was born, a small, non-profit run out of the VFW hall with Reggie as the legal advisor and Andre heading outreach. The donations poured in faster than we expected. Seems my story had touched more people than I could have imagined. And then came the call I'd been expecting but never really wanted. Dad Marcus's voice was quiet, unsure. "This is Mr. Coleman," I said. A long pause. Then I know I got no right to ask, but can we talk? Just once. "All communication goes through Colonel Walker," I replied. "I know. His voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Dad. I was stupid. Greedy. I thought I was doing what Mom would have wanted, helping the family. I didn't realize what I'd become." I let the silence sit for a long time. "You didn't realize because you weren't listening, son. I know. You stole from me, lied about me, tried to bury me alive in my own house. That ain't something you fix with an apology. I'll make it right. I swear it." I sighed. "You're already doing your time, Marcus. 2 years probation. That's your chance to learn what being a man really means. Can you forgive me?" he whispered. Forgiveness. The word hung heavy between us. "I can forgive," I said finally. "But I can't forget. You took too much for that." When I hung up, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt peace, because real victory isn't when your enemy suffers, it's when you stop suffering. That night, Reggie came over with 2 cups of strong coffee and a cigar we'd been saving since '98. "You did it, old friend," he said. "No," I told him. "We did it. You, Andre, Evelyn, watching from wherever she is." He chuckled. "You realize you turned Memorial Day into a courtroom?" I grinned. "Only fair. I've been fighting for justice my whole damn life. This time I just made sure the whole town saw it happen." Reggie leaned back, eyes on the fading light. "So what now? Zay, what's next?" I looked out over my lawn, clean, quiet, mine again. "Now," I said. "Now I live." I wasn't the broken man they left behind. I was the man who'd rebuilt himself with truth and patience. And the next time someone called me old, I'd just smile and say, "No, son, I'm seasoned." Because some men break under betrayal, others get sharper. And I was sharper than I'd ever been. 3 months passed before I realized something strange. My house didn't echo anymore. It used to feel hollow every corner, whispering their laughter, their lies. But now it sounded like peace. Real peace, the kind Evelyn always said was worth fighting for. The roses she planted had bloomed again, wild and red, like they'd been waiting for someone to come home. I sat on the porch every morning at 600 coffee in hand, sunrise hitting the old oak tree just right. The neighborhood had gone back to its rhythm, lawn mowers, barking dogs, life humming along, but folks still waved when they saw me. Only now their eyes didn't carry pity, they carried respect. The Coleman Veteran Integrity Fund kept growing faster than we could keep up with. Reggie handled the legal work, Andre managed outreach, and I became the reluctant face of the whole thing. You're our story, they told me, proof that dignity don't age. We'd helped 12 veterans in 2 months, men and women who'd been robbed, manipulated, or abandoned by their own blood. They came in broken like I once was and walked out a little taller. Sometimes I'd talk to them myself. I'd tell them, you don't fight back because you hate them. You fight back because you love yourself. It was funny, I'd spent half my life learning how to survive war, but it took my own family to teach me how to survive betrayal. Marcus called twice more. Both times I let it go to voicemail. His words were careful, humble. Dad, I'm volunteering at the VA now. I get it. I see what you went through. I hope someday we can talk again. Maybe someday we will. But healing ain't a race. It's a march, slow, steady, 1 foot in front of the other. Vanessa never called. Word around town was they'd separated. She couldn't handle the shame. Truth is, shame's a heavy uniform when you've never earned it. Reggie stopped by every Thursday evening. We'd sit on the porch with our cigars and talk like old soldiers do about the past, the price of peace, and how life always finds a way to make you stand up even when your knees say no. You ever regret not pressing harder? He asked one night. You could have put them in prison. I shook my head. Nah. They needed to face themselves, not a cell. Evelyn wouldn't have wanted that. He nodded. You really loved that woman. I still do, I said. She's in everything good that's left of me. When he left that night, I stood by the window, looking at her picture on the mantel. We did it, baby, I whispered. We kept your house. We kept your peace. A week later, Andre's little girl Naomi knocked on my door holding a small envelope. Daddy said to give this to you, Mr. Zay. Inside was a hand-drawn card, the kind that makes your chest ache, with 3 words written in a child's crooked handwriting. Thank you, hero. I framed it and hung it right beside my medals. Those medals meant I survived war. Naomi's card meant I survived life. Now every evening I sit on my porch and watch the sun sink low behind the rooftops. Sometimes Mary Patterson, a widow from my church, joins me. We talk about books, the weather, or nothing at all. Just 2 souls who understand loss and still choose laughter. When the air gets quiet, I think back to that day, the crowd. The truth, the sound of my own voice reclaiming everything they'd stolen. And I realize that revenge never really was the point. Dignity was. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't seeing them fall. It's standing tall again while the world watches, proving that old age doesn't mean weakness and kindness doesn't mean surrender. I'm Ezekiel Coleman, 76 years old, veteran survivor and still standing. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. You're never too old to fight for what's right. You're never too late to set boundaries. And you're never too broken to start again. The boy thought he buried me, but all he did was plant me, and Lord, how I've grown.